Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Let Her Cook on BSCN. I am Jackie Dutton, and I am your host with the most today. So today we are going to be making a one-pan Tuscan-inspired chicken and rice. And we're going to use some sun-dried tomatoes and some artichokes and some really, really nice, lovely, like kind of fall flavors, if you will. The thing I love about this the most is that it happens in one pan. So there is no like extra massive cleanup of like a million dishes. So if you want the recipe, I will post all of the details after this with a lovely picture, and you can just follow along. And we're also going to talk some crypto things while I knock this meal out. So let's get started. First, I have done a little prep work, and it is with this marinated chicken. So I took the oil from the sun-dried tomato jar, and I have added it to a bag with chicken thighs. And I have also added oregano, salt, pepper, and some chili powder. And just kind of let this hang out in the fridge for anywhere over 30 minutes and up to, overnight or something like that. So I'm going to turn my burner on here to like a medium-high heat. And we're going to sear the chicken just on the outside and get like a nice coloring and coating. And then I'm going to take it out. We're going to add some of the vegetables, and then we're going to add rice, the liquids, the artichokes, the rest of the sun-dried tomatoes, and just kind of let this bake up or cook up, right? So one of the main topics for the week here is the white whale drama. I'm also going to ask the chat real quick. So is the white whale drama. And if you haven't been following this, it involves the crypto exchange MEXC. So if you have been living under a rock, you do not know, but MEXC over the last 3 years really became one of the top exchanges in the entire crypto sphere. And it went from being known for just having like slightly loose KYC parameters. So anybody could use it, but you could also trade perpetual futures, and it was just an easier platform to use. So along comes this guy, and his username is the white whale. And essentially what happens is he starts losing money when he starts trading to begin with, and then he quickly starts making money to the tune of ending up making, I think, close to over $100 million in the last year trading. And he went to withdraw some of the money, and out of nowhere, MEXC locked his account. They said there was suspicious trading activity. They said that he violated the terms of having an account with MEXC, and they claimed that the violation of the terms was that he had hooked up a bunch of trading bots or something, because he had a double transaction, like one right after another. And later he ended up digging into the issue. And if you are using a VPN, or MEXC's platform for that matter, using a VPN or just routing, it can give this double transaction, or, within a too close amount of time for it to have been a human executing the trade. But there could have been a variety of reasons for why this happened that weren't anything nefarious that the white whale was doing. But regardless, they suspended him and they locked his funds. $100 million, can you imagine? And he spent several months trying to get them back. But last week, like a Batman hero in the night, Zach XBT finally notices that this has gone on. And if you don't know who Zach is the top blockchain detective. He traces a lot of hacks and stolen funds, and that's kind of his job. And Zach issues one public comment on X to the MEXC Twitter account. And he says something along the lines of, why do you never name your beneficiary owner or the person that stands to gain the most money from owning your platform? And I haven't looked this up, but apparently on MEXC's platform, if you go to it, they don't list like a CEO or CTO or like a major team, and they don't tell you like who really owns the platform. So, huge red flag. But immediately following Zach XBT asking this question, because obviously, it kind of implied that Zach already knows who this person is. And we know that he's here for the drama, like he's willing to expose whoever this person is. He doesn't give a shit. He's for transparency. And within a few hours, there was a tweet issued by MEXC's, I don't know what she is, the marketing officer, but there was a tweet issued by her saying, we fucked up, and we are releasing immediately the White Whale's funds, and he can have them back. And, we were wrong in our communication with him, and we shouldn't have done this. And apparently she just got hired a couple months before, and she was like, yeah, sorry about that. Like, I've been trying to change things. I'm going to get a lid so this shuts up. It's the right size. But we'll quiet this down. And so problem solved, right? For the White Whale, at least. But then this brings out of the woodwork all of these other people who are like, wait a minute, I may not have $100 million, but I have money on MEXC, and they too have locked my account. So all weekend, this became a topic of conversation on the internet and amongst crypto Twitter of how MEXC has kind of unfairly used whatever excuse they wanted to lock these funds. And the argument is that because there's an abundance of money there, it was questionable about how solvent they were if they were willing to lock down people's money and not release it to them. So that was originally one of the tweets that got noticed by Zach XBT, was the White Whale was claiming, well, they must be insolvent if they're not willing to release my funds. So it looked like it all worked out. Unfortunately, though, the Degens are going to Degen. And let's flip this. Sorry, this is so loud. But unfortunately, the Degens are going to Degen, and consequently, there was a porn video circulating with a girl who looked similar to the main communications person of MEXC. And it just ended up being a lot of drama because it looked like her, and she had to issue a public statement saying, well, this is not me. And then the White Whale had to come out and be like, hey, guys, like, what are you doing here? Like, this isn't her. Rude. So rude. This is going to piss me off today. We're going to let that brown on the other side, and then I will take it out after 2 to 4 minutes, and then we'll get started on everything else. So that was the white whale drama. I also thought it was funny that that was his username. And, if you know the story of the white whale and Moby Dick and the kind of infamous tale throughout history, obviously, it's, a major novel that everybody knows and has heard of. So it was funny. They tried to kill the whale and the whale killed them. Spoiler, just like in Moby Dick. So what an asshole whale, by the way. So let's see. There are some other topics I did want to talk about. So last week I saw Logan Paul very proudly announced that his class action lawsuit over his NFT collection was dismissed. They couldn't ultimately prove that Logan Paul had anything to do with people buying the NFTs. It's not like he forced anybody's hand over the click button and he was like, here, you spend your money. So again, we revisit this topic of there is a level of accountability in this space that I feel like we do not address. And it is the fact that you were literally buying shit coins, NFTs, stuff that is actually named like, do not buy this. Like the ticker is like, don't buy, and people will buy it. And then they're shocked, like, oh my gosh, big red candle. My favorite one was the Squid Game token right after. Really, after the whole show, the whole point of it was that there was only one winner. And the market cap ran up to I don't know how many million before a big red candle and only one winner emerged, the person with the details to the contract. So again, we have to start having an accountability talk, right? About like, if you're the one buying this shit, it doesn't matter if it's Logan Paul or some random dev in Malaysia, okay? You are the one spending your money and you are the one buying this. Have a little bit of, awareness to turn around and go, okay, my bad. I probably shouldn't have done that. All right, we're going to take this out. And we're going to leave all of these lovely juices in here because we're going to cook up some other stuff. You can also use chicken breast for this recipe. I just prefer chicken thighs because they tend to be a lot more tender in a recipe like this. And the chicken thighs have a little more fat on them. So I think the flavor is better. Okay. All right, so we are going to add, you would add a shallot if you wanted, but I am going to add an onion because for some reason I don't buy shallots like that, but I do buy onions. Yeah, we're going to take a wooden spoon. I'm going to turn the heat up on this a little bit. And you're going to start with the onions and let those cook, and then we're going to add the sun-dried tomatoes, the artichoke hearts, and then we're going to add our rice, and some lemon juice, coconut milk, and some chicken broth. In case you haven't been paying attention, obviously the crypto market has absolutely nuked over the last 3 days. I don't control the weather, so I don't have an explanation for that, which is really comfortable, by the way, when I join like a Twitter space and people are like, Jackie, why is the sky falling? And I'm like, I am not Atlas Shrugged. I am not holding this shit up by myself. I don't know, right? I barely even have any Bitcoin. I've got no idea. You tell me. But we can take a look here and try and guess. Because it looks like it was kind of all good news. We got a rate cut last week. The tariff conversation with China was working itself out. And, CZ got his pardon. So I'm not sure, guys. I don't know. Let's see. Ripple closes a $500 million strategic investment and a $40 billion valuation led by Fortress Investment Group in Citadel. Did Ripple need to raise money? That's interesting. So I'm going to add, I like a lot of these, so I'm going to add as many that will come out of this jar. Let's see. Let me get a fork. I swear to God, it's like peanut butter. Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Add this. And then I have this jar of artichoke hearts. I would normally use a can. This was all they had at Aldi. Careful. It is Mercury retrograde, and that's honestly my best reason for probably why the market is shitting itself. So if you notice, volatile markets, your technology is being bizarre and not working the way that it should, travel delays, all kinds of stuff. We may not be adding artichokes because I can't get this jar open. Oh, my husband's not home. I need a hero. Okay. So we're going to add these after I drain this. But Mercury retrograde will absolutely put a wrinkle in some things for you. They also say you should not sign any like really important contracts or like financial deals under Mercury retrograde if you can avoid it. And if you can't, just be very, very sure, read the fine print, double, triple check, because things tend to go awry during Mercury retrograde. All right, we're going to add this, and I'm going to add 1 cup of rice, and I've rinsed this off. That's why it's in this bowl. This already smells so good. Okay. The funniest thing I notice when I watch like Food Network stuff and, you know, chefs and people who are popular who cook is that they are smiling the whole time. Like they really love to cook. I love to cook too. I really do. I have resting bitch face. And also, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but when I eat really good food, it almost makes me angry just because I know I'm going to eat way more of it than I should. And that one bite of like, oh, I'm going to eat the shit out of this, like, it almost ruins my day because I know in advance future me is going to be on the treadmill or, you know, running down the road trying to negate the fact that I couldn't control myself. Because the meal is not over when I'm full, it's over when I hate myself. I think Louis C.K. said that. All right, so we have added the rice. We're gonna add coconut milk and 1 cup of chicken broth. And by chicken broth, I mean chicken bouillon with water. And this is, since I get cracked on for not measuring. Okay, this is 8 ounces of water, and I'm going to use 1 teaspoon per the directions. Okay. So this is the appropriate portion of this. I really love this flavor though. You can also use the powdered one or the ones that come in cubes. I just like this one in the jar. Alright, I'm also going to open up this solid. This can of coconut milk. If you don't want the coconut milk to get this, like, I'll show you, this solidified portion on top, you can actually store the can upside down and it will not do that. Put this in here. Where's the solid? This will become liquid. There's the liquid. Okay, we're gonna add this, and then we're gonna add a little lemon juice. I don't have much left, so we're gonna add this in. That was probably about a tablespoon and a half. Mix all this up, and the coconut milk just adds like a nice creamy flavor and texture without adding dairy. I'm sure you could add actual dairy, but this is the recipe I use. And then I'm gonna put the chicken back. And this is gonna come to a boil and the rice is gonna cook. And while this happens, we can talk about some more crypto topics. And make sure you pour the lovely juices back in here. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get the correct lid for this. Perfect. All right, so I would reduce that to low, like a lowish. This is about a 3. And we're gonna give this about 15 minutes and I'm gonna check it and see how the liquid is doing, but the liquid is gonna boil down and kind of go away and get absorbed by the rice. Let's set this to the side while we talk about some other crypto things. Okay. Let's see here. Let me also check, because I haven't been looking at these. Remind me later. Okay. Senator Cynthia Lummis says crypto is the future and we need to make sure banks are embracing it. I would agree. I have seen Senator Lummis speak, actually. She was speaking at Bitcoin Nashville, and I went last year. And she is incredibly passionate about our space. And it's kind of rare to see, obviously, someone older in government that is so willing to kind of stump for us as a cause. You can tell she is a hardcore Bitcoiner, and she really believes in just Bitcoin as a a strategic reserve, a major asset, and something that could help combat the effects of how we abandoned the gold standard. And we clearly need to do something to stifle the massive inflation that has happened since then. So I think that's all a good thing. Let's Let's see. President Trump says the U.S. economy is, quote, booming and costs are coming down. Okay. Is he at the grocery store? I don't think he is. And I will say, you know, I have my own opinions on some positive things that have happened since he got into office, but let me tell you, it is not cheaper at the grocery store. It doesn't feel like it. It still feels like a war on meat eaters. And I'm, you know, still looking into homesteading options like gardening, growing your own food. I think these are all great things, but I also think a bag of fucking grapes should not be like $8. Okay, and a thing of blueberries shouldn't be 11 just because they're organic. That's crazy. So no, things are not cheaper. I don't know what's cheaper. He needs to get specific. Trump says the stock market will hit many record highs. Well, thank God he's not Jim Cramer. Let's see. So yesterday, $730 billion was wiped out from the U.S. stock market, and 250. This is 250 billion was wiped out from crypto, but I mean, yeah, we obviously saw ETH take a huge hit. Bitcoin fell under 100K. I'm gonna pull up the chart right now. So Bitcoin's back up above $100,000, and this is kind of what I thought was more likely that we would see. That if we ever saw Bitcoin fall under 100K, that it would not last for very long. I do think that this six-figure standard of Bitcoin is here to stay. I don't think we're going to see anything crazy like a massive dip on down to like 65 grand or something like that. I think way too many people caught the wave of, you know, institutional investors and everybody who really wanted to see Bitcoin hit this $100,000 like precipice. And I think that this is kind of the new floor for Bitcoin is six figures. So I'm sure there are a lot of buy orders around 98 grand, $99,000 that people with a ton of money are willing to spend their money, you know, whether they're buying whole Bitcoins or whether they're just dollar cost averaging. I think anywhere in that 90 to 99K range, there is going to be so many buy orders that I just don't see, unless like everyone collectively dumps at once, that we're going to see anything in that range last for longer than, like, I don't even know if this lasted 12 hours. Let's see. Last night, I should go to the daily chart. It's like 74K. What happened? Yeah, I mean, this, like, it didn't even last 24 hours. That it went from 102 down to, I briefly saw it at 98,000 last night, and then this morning it's back up above what it was 24 hours ago, which is 103. The one piece of advice that I have in a market like this that's that volatile, where within 24 hours you see Bitcoin go from 102 down to 98 and then back up to 103, is stop playing the game of the longs and the shorts. A friend of mine said it best. He said, time in the market is better than trying to time the market. And if you are gambling, you're going to get smoked on days like this. This is so hard to predict the top and the bottom, especially even just in a 24-hour period. So unless you have some very strategically placed, you know, if you caught this at 70K and you have a long placed, you're still sitting pretty. But that was a long time ago. You know, there's no way that you did that less than months and months ago. Let's see, April, it was 76 grand. That was the last time we saw that. So, you know, 6 months ago, at least 6, 7, 8 months ago now, Yeah, guys, I just think this is a very, very volatile trading, and I think unless you have something rigged up, the craziest, best trading bot you've ever seen, it's just going to be too hard in a 24-hour period to really predict like where this goes. So be very careful out there. That is always my advice. I think it's better to run away and live to fight another day, right? Just preserve some of your capital. When in doubt, just hodl. You didn't lose money if you didn't sell. And yeah, if you haven't sold yet, at least you haven't technically lost any money. But there are people who just bit the bullet. I mean, if you think about how Bitcoin at one point, and really not that long ago, was sitting somewhere around $200. And if you just bought 5 of them at that point, if you bought $1,000 of Bitcoin when it was $200, and you just rode the wave and just held, I mean, the shit-eating smug grin that would be on your face at this point would be so wide, you would look like a Cheshire cat. So, when in doubt, zoom out. Obviously, holding and being willing to hold is of the benefit to you with these larger assets. I think that obviously is the case as well, usually within the stock market, as long as you're not playing in like the technology era and sector, you're betting on like hot new trends or something like that. If you leave that and you just start focusing on kind of like bread and butter things, I think you stand to always, be in the money at least. The S&P 500 is another example of something that continues to trend up, right? So a lot of hedge funds have a hard time even beating the S&P by itself. So even just putting your money in that, just like Bitcoin, and just kind of holding and watching and seeing what happens. Obviously, Bitcoin, though, is the best performing asset of the decade, and year over year, it still is the best performing asset per year. I saw a chart last night that was the price of Bitcoin on every Halloween, and every single Halloween from the past, let's see, in 2010, it was 20 cents. 2011, it was $3.27. Each year, let me see. There were only like 2 or 3 instances of the price being slightly lower the year before, and it was, or slightly higher the year before, excuse me. Let's see, from 2015 to 2014. 2014, the price on Halloween was 337, and in 2015, it was 312. And then 2017 to 2018, 2018's price was 6,332, and 2017's was 6,369, so a difference of about $30. And then we start to get into some much bigger jumps. So 2021's price was 61,000, retraced all the way back down the next year to $20,000, and then for the next 3 years proceeded to almost double. And from 2024 to 2025, we've obviously seen Bitcoin start at $72,000 at Halloween, and then, last week it was $110,000 on Halloween. To me, I look at that, and although it is so scary to see these like daily performances of like everything's nuking and everything's on fire, and oh my God, I'm losing my money, and what are we gonna do? But then I look at that chart and I look at that breakdown, and I just think, man, like, that must have sucked from well, it did. I was here. That sucked from 2021 to 2022 of that massive FTX raping that the entire Bitcoin chart endured, as well as every other one. But at the same time, if you had enough side capital to take advantage of the price dip of 2022, you are golden now. Like, you are doing much better as long as you didn't gamble it away on shitty internet pictures and JPEGs and meme coins. So, that's my big financial advice. That's not really ever financial advice, but that's my opinion. And I think we could all stand to have a little sage wisdom. So this is looking so lovely. I'm going to direct some of this liquid towards the bottom. The rice is so fluffy. And the chicken is just like going to shred apart. I'm not going to bother to shred the chicken because I will just pull out like a whole chicken thigh and then the rest of what I want with it here. And I'm going to leave the lid off while I let this cook for the next couple minutes. But yeah, this is generally, this is an easy recipe, by the way. This doesn't take a full hour. That's another reason I really like this one. I actually got this recipe. It's been modified a little bit, but from a girl named Jenna, and her page is called Jenna Eats Good. And a lot of the food that she makes is dairy-free and gluten-free. And it's very like health conscious, but one of the cooler things about what she does is she meal preps. So she shows how to go to Trader Joe's and with like $75 of food, which is again like quite a steal in today's economy. And she will show you how to make like 5 full meals for the day with just $75 of Trader Joe's ingredients. And she shows you how to use absolutely everything that you buy. So if one recipe only uses like half of something, she has a whole, series where later in the week you could use the other half. So there's no waste involved. And I think that's really unique. I find myself often going to the grocery store and buying things and then using maybe half because that was all the recipe called for and not figuring out how to use the other half. So Jenna is absolutely brilliant. Love her. I feel like you should definitely give her a follow if you are a fan. Oh, perfect. The other camera is finally working. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can find some more like slight drama. Oh, here's another one. Okay, so Drake, Aiden Ross were sued over, quote, deeply fraudulent promotion of the crypto casino Stake. A class action lawsuit accuses Drake and Aiden Ross of making millions off of misleading ads for Stake, a social casino alleged to be an illegal gambling operation. I remember when BitBoy was the one with the Stake partnership. Obviously, there was some shady shit going on because, well, maybe next week I'll get into my lovely trip down to Atlanta to meet the entire Hit Network team, which was the one that worked with BitBoy. And it was during the time where they were actually separating from him. And it was a complete dumpster fire for the team because of the way that Ben BitBoy was acting and going about it. And this is hilarious to me that like Stake is kind of named in this. And Stake was the one that mainly partnered with him. And they continued to stay with him long after that happened. So like BitBoy went on to make other content under his own like username and his own YouTube channel. And I think he kept his Stake partnership because there was some story about how his mistress was the one who had secured the deal. And that's a whole drama thing. Yeah, we can talk about that later. That was absolutely insane. Let's see. All right. So I know the stream is normally an hour, but we can also end this sooner because this is done. So I'm going to turn off the burner. But this is the generally what it should look like if you make it. And it is too hot to take a bite, unfortunately, but it smells absolutely delicious. So this is my 1-pan Tuscan chicken and rice. If you make it, let me know. Take a picture, tag me, hit me up. Would love to see it. And otherwise, it's been a great time today, guys. Just an easy 1-pan meal, a nice little conversation, and meal prep for the next 2 days. Last week, unfortunately, after I made the albondiga soup, my husband left the pot out on the counter overnight and forgot to put it in the fridge, and it ruined the entire thing. So I had to throw it out, and I didn't have any more leftovers of the albondiga soup that I made, and I was very sad. But that's not going to happen tonight. Damn it. I'm going to make sure. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to Let Her Cook. Brought to you by BSCN. I'm Jackie Dutton. And if you guys like this episode, make sure you share, comment, and, we'd love to expand the cooking fam, right? We need way more cooks in this kitchen, or at least more people to help me eat this. But I'm Jackie Dutton, and I will see you guys on Monday, where we do prediction markets and just kind of talk a little bit of shit about some stuff going on. And then in a week, we will be cooking another dish. So I will see you guys next time, and be safe out there. And, when in doubt, zoom out. Bye, guys.